So they love me, I love them, and we have all kinds of trade agreements and things like that, and we're sharing research, and they're helping me meet all the people over here. So they're just a ton of fun. It's the other people who are unpleasant. What's cracking, people? Angelic Mayhem here. So, welcome to Horizon. This is a game that is in beta at the moment. It's also available on Steam via its early access program. And basically, this is a 4X strategy game that is a mix of Galactic Civilizations and the game Civilization 2. Okay, and I'm sure that you're going to see different flavors of that as we go along. I thought it was very interesting. I think it's one of the better 4X strategy games that I have seen, so I figured I'd show it to you. To begin, in the options menu, it's all generic stuff. There is no 1280 by 720, so that's why the picture's a little weird. Audio, I've muted everything. I will let you know that the music is a bit much, so that's why I have that jacked down. Before we load up the game that I already have, because this is a 4X strategy game, you know, these games go for a long time. I mean, I've been playing one game for 6 hours, and I'm barely scratching the surface. So, I mean, it could easily be 20, 30 hours for each individual game, depending upon how you play it. But before we do that, I want to do new game. And I just want to talk about this menu right here. On the right-hand side, we have all of our opponents, and you can actually go in and change how your opponent is going to be playing you. For those of you who played Galactic Civilizations, this probably looks very familiar. And if we go back to the other side, this is actually brand new. The game came out originally as a beta, but then they had a major update, okay, on the 19th of last month, which was December of 2013. And in this update, among other things, they actually now allow you to play as the other races. And there's all kinds of other things along the way, but this is one of the major things. And you can actually change, you know, to one of the other races and tweak all the settings and things like that. I'm going to wait until this game is out of beta to kind of get into all this because, you know, obviously it can all change over time. Also, I'm not going to discuss any of this, but, you know, it just changes the size of the board and how often you find planets and things like that. And the more planets there are, the more complex and the longer the game is going to be. The less planets there are, the, you know, faster it'll go along. There are also missions in this game. I'm probably going to talk about that in a little bit, and I've turned off the tutorials. I don't even know what they are. All right, back up. And we're going to load up. This little guy, as you switch from place to place, he keeps plugging in, and then eventually he'll blow up because he gets shocked to death. But we're not going to do that to him. He seems like a nice fellow. Let's go in here. So this is basically the map that you're going to be looking at for 20 plus hours, okay? You can actually move things around so that they become, you know, like more to your liking. Basically, if you unlock any one of these, you can move it, and then when you lock it again, it stays in place. I'm going to move this temporarily just to show you what Legend is. You can actually turn off all the different things that you do or don't want. We're going to lock that. Oops. Close it down and lock it. We'll move him back. This one actually shows you when you go into a particular sector, if there are planets there, it will give you, like, for instance, yeah, this one just has a sun, and then this is my home world, my home system, rather. Up here at the top, we have the year and also how much money I'm making. You can see that I got buku dollars coming in. Right here, this is the options menu. It's the same as the one that I just showed you. These are the statistics for everybody, which is very Civilization, but it's live in terms of, you know, like it shows you as you're going along how you compare to everybody else, which I think is really sweet because as you can see, I started off, I was tanking really bad, and I didn't even realize it until, you know, I saw this graph and I was like, all right, I got to get on it. So then I started really developing myself, and I've been pulling up, and now I'm in 4th place. So that's pretty sweet. But you can actually segregate it by, you know, like economy. You can see that I have more money than anybody else. Production, you can see that these guys are really having like a space race here, and I'm just trying to play catch up. Population, they've got way more people than I do. So, you know, you can actually check out how you compare to everybody else. When we go into this, Every time you click turn, you get one more year, okay? And during that year, a bunch of different stuff happens. So you can actually pull up what has happened over the past year, and it will explain it to you, all right? You can also uncheck all the low priority stuff. So if you don't care that your ships were supplied and things like that, then, you can get rid of all those messages. But I'm going to leave that on. Here's a list of all the worlds that I own. You can pick any one of these. What I do kind of regret is that each of these colonies is building things at the moment. Some of them have multiple things, and some of them don't have anything at all. I would really like it if this menu had like a list of everything that's being built and what its progress is, because as things are being built, you can actually plunk down some cash to make it go faster. But you have to like remember, okay, I have something on Lesgoon and something on K1 and something on Teen Spirit, and like you got to hop from different planet to planet. And then if you can't remember because you have too many planets, now you're just searching all your planets over and over again. That can really kind of drag the game out. So I wish that there was a menu, maybe even if it was something over here that said build or something like that, that would just give me a list of everything that's being built at the moment. Fleet gives you a list of all of each fleet has a number of ships in it. The most ships that you can have in a fleet is 10, and it doesn't matter what the sizes are. So like you can have 10 capital ships or you can have 10 fighter, it doesn't matter. And then planets is every planet that you have found so far, even the ones that you can't send people to. So, and it tells you like which system it's in, etc., etc., etc. All kinds of good details there. And then finally this one, and we're going to talk about this now. On top of the 4X strategy game, there's also these missions, okay? So as you're going from planet to planet, you will find occasionally like a little science pod, or maybe when you meet somebody, like when I met the Kamzaks, they actually told me about this crystal that somebody had come in and stolen, and they were like, if you find our crystal, let us know, So that would be a really great way to get on the better side of the Kamzaks, is if I return their heart crystal. Or you can keep the heart crystal for yourself if somehow it gives you a little extra power or something like that. So, that's like this little meta game that's kind of over the top of this 4X traditional strategy game that, that we're playing here. Down here, this just is the diplomacy screen, and anybody who you have direct contact with, you can communicate. I'm at war with these two different nations at the moment, so that's sad face for me. These are other people that the Lesgoons have told me about who they've run into, but because I haven't met them personally, I can't contact them, okay? So that's how that goes. But you do get a report for each one, so you can find out like where they are basically in the universe, and you can send a ship over there to meet them. And that's what this guy's doing out here. He is on a mission to actually go and meet this guy right here. He's my enemy. So I'm trying to meet his enemy, so to make his enemy my friend. Down here, this is the text screen. Now, of all the things in the game, this is the one that kind of bothers me the most, and here's why. Let's say that I want it to be expansionistic, okay? I want it to get out there as fast as possible. I would really want to do engines, okay? Or maybe I would want to have a lot of xenobiology, okay? Now, in each of these groupings, you can highlight one of these to kind of push that one a little bit further, but it's to a huge detriment to the others that are in that same category. So without selecting anything, okay, all three of these will be worked on at the same time, and they will achieve, their level up whenever like in 32 turns or in 65 turns or whatever. But I can actually click on this to make this one go faster, but it's a huge detriment, in terms of the other ones. So you actually don't want to do that. You want to let these all kind of go together, towards the finish line. Now, what you can do is you can say, all right, well, maybe I want weapons, so I want to shift my research towards weapons, and then all of the weapons will level up faster than everything else. But again, it's to a huge detriment. So you're actually penalized if you want to get specific. I think that that's a mistake. I really wish that they would let us say, okay, because I want to expand, I need to have interstellar comm as fast as possible. So I want to focus on this and let everything else just kind of sit where it is. And also, like, interstellar broadcasting and interstellar comm, maybe I need them both because I want to send people long distances. So, let me highlight both of these, not just one of them. So I think that, it's a little bit lacking there. Again, it's a beta, so maybe they'll change it, maybe they won't. We'll have to see how that plays out. But, at the moment, I would just tell you to leave everything as is and don't go around, selecting one, as a priority, because the penalty is too steep on what happens to everything else. And then finally, down here, we have design. Each of your ships you can customize to a certain extent, in that you can say, okay, I want one plasma bolt cannon, or I want two of them, or I want to make this plasma bolt cannon, instead of being a light cannon, which can spin 360 degrees, but it does very little damage, maybe I want to have this be a heavy cannon, okay? Which can only do 120 degrees, but if I put one on the front and one on the back, basically I'm covered. So these are the kind of options that you get to have. And then with your bigger ships, yes, I'm going to discard changes. When you go to, like, for instance, this is a mothership that I haven't customized at all yet. Maybe I want to use this as a supply ship, but maybe instead I want to get rid of this and I want to maybe add some fighter bays so that when this ship shows up, 9 fighters pop out and then they all start going to town as well. So these are the different things that you get to do in order to customize both your ships, and you can also customize your starbase. Now, there's only one type of starbase, so basically all you're doing is you're adding a bunch of cannons so that if anybody comes and attacks your starbase, it can defend itself. Because this is a turn-based strategy, I will tell you that heavy anything is significantly better than light anything. Because what the enemy is going to throw at you are the destroyers. They're not going to throw a bunch of, like light fighters at you. So these are basically worthless. The heavy artillery, that's just the way to go. And also, like with the stations, it's nice to have like that missile launch where you kind of like hit them with the impact, and then you can focus fire on one of their ships and take it down very quickly, and then work on the other ones. That's a real great way to kind of even the odds in your favor. So we're going to return out of here. Now, did you notice that as I left that, it didn't ask me if I wanted to save? So be careful if you start making changes and then you want to switch back to your map. Make sure you save first, otherwise you're going to lose everything. TC, by the way, is trillion credits. You can see that my net income is 59 BC. That's billion credits. There's also MC, which is million credits, and that's chump change, so nobody cares about that. And this is the lay of the land. So this was my original sector down here. My first capital planet is called K4. You can actually rename the planets as you see fit, and it was just easier for me to remember the Ks were all my original planets. When you go inside of each planet, it gives you a full readout of everything. The only one of these that you can change is you can actually kind of do a diplomatic thing where you say, all right, we're going to be a clean people, so that keeps your pollution down, but it affects your industry. I really wish that there was a lot more of that, because that's a very interesting thing. Like maybe we want to say, okay, like let's do a lot of population. So the population goes up, but the food goes down. Or maybe we want to say, we're a big trading community. We're like a hub. So then that increases trading, but it reduces all 5 of these other ones. You know what I mean? So it would be really neat to be able to customize this a lot further. But for right now, it's good. It is. It's a lot of fun. And then if you want to, let's say that you have a planet and it has abundant resources, which in this case it does. I maxed out industry in order to take full advantage of the abundant resources on this planet. But let's say that this said poor, all right? A poor resource planet, you skip industry altogether. It's because it's not worth it to spend all the money to get that only to not produce anything. You can also skip the shipyards and the starbase because you're not going to be pumping out ships from something that has poor resources. What you are going to do is probably turn it into a research planet. Or maybe it'll be an entertainment hub. You know what I mean? So entertainment is used to generate a lot of cash. Research is used to generate a lot of projects, which are then used on your tech. So there's a lot of customization for each planet depending upon what you're given. And then you can flip between all the planets in the system via this bar at the top here. And you can see, all right, well, this one's uninhabitable at the moment until you terraform it. and this one is also the same, but this is a volcanic planet, and this is a desert planet. And when you colonize each planet, they actually give you like a little cutscene, and the little pods come down. And if it's a snow planet, then like the background will be snow, and if it's like a desert planet, the background will be all sand. So I mean, it's really really cool how detailed they kind of got with it. So 4X starts with expansion, okay? I actually expanded outward and then consumed my neighbors who aren't technically part of me, but for all intents and purposes, the Lesgoons, who I love, I'm a big fan of the Lesies, they are just integrated into my society, full blown. So they love me, I love them, and we have all kinds of trade agreements and things like that, and we're sharing research, and they're helping me meet all the people over here, so they're just a ton of fun. It's the other people who are unpleasant. These 1, 2, 3, and 4, these are all worthless galaxies, okay? The planets are uninhabitable at the moment by both these guys over here and me. So it's a nice little buffer between me and my neighbors. But they're very grumpy, okay? First of all, their name is Kamzak. What kind of a name is that? I don't really like them. But over here, this planet right here, Deji 4. Deji 4 is probably the best planet that I've found so far, and we have both been actively trying to get over here. And I've sent out many ships to try to capture the sector, or not even capture the sector, just to guard this planet so that I could inhabit it. And there's no doing. I mean, they are sending everything they got down here to try to stop me. It's a shame, really. But so this has been a war on one front, but really it's been a very light war. This war up here has been a little bit different. These guys have been very intent on blockading as much as they could of me because they've seen how quickly I've been expanding and they're not having it. So right now they've got a fleet of 8 ships, which I can't click on. That's weird. If I go into the sector view, you can see these are my ships. They're guarding Lesgoon West, which is my planet, which is keeping the Lesgoons in order. And then here is their fleet of transport ships that are coming in. So clearly they're going to try to invade when they get here, but that's not going to happen because I'm going to wipe them out. Let's click out of that. So let's talk about fleets. You can actually yank any one of these ships out of your fleet and make it its own ship. You can also move ships from fleet to fleet to make multiple fleets if you so choose. I want to make sure that all these guys are in the same place. You can give fleets orders depending upon the ships that they have. Some ships will allow you to colonize. Others will allow you to invade. Others will allow you to bombard. It all depends on what the ship is outfitted with. If it has a colony pod, then it can, colonize, etc., etc., etc. And then if you send out a fleet, and let's say you colonize, you actually have to recharge that colonize ability by coming back to a space station. So you actually have to deploy space stations in strategic areas so you can go out, colonize, come back, recharge, go out, colonize, come back, recharge. If you expand too quickly, you will then be overrun by the enemy, so you have to be careful where you go and then build, a lot of the infrastructure in that place before you start going to expand more anyway. So this is the kind of it's all traditional 4X strategy stuff, and they do a very good job of making sure that you can't just overrun the galaxy, as you see fit. There is pushback, okay? So you have to think strategically in order to really kind of gain the upper hand. I did not do that. In this particular game, I was just expanding as fast as possible because I just wanted to see everything. I wanted to find out what the black holes were. I wanted to see everything. And sadly, I've left myself in a pretty bad place. So now I'm in a position where even though I got a ton of cash, I'm spending all of it trying to build an army to now guard all of these places that don't really have anything to save themselves. So that's where I'm at the moment. Other than that, basically it's a turn-based strategy game. I'm not going to actually take you turn by turn because I'm sure that would be very boring, but that kind of gives you a general understanding of what the game is all about. One of the other X's in 4X is combat. It's in this game, it's a little touchy, and let me explain why, okay? Let me show you what a sector looks like. So this is, now these ships are just passing through, okay? There's nothing else. Oops. I'm sorry, I ruined that. We're here. So there's nothing else in this particular sector, right? I can click around here all I want. There's no other ships, no nothing. If there were ships, let's say that there were ships over here, okay, in this part of the sector. You can actually drag here, right? Look how far I have to go just to get back to my ships. Now, obviously, I can use this mini-map, but the point is that in terms of combat, it's very boring. You know, to get these ships to go, if this were combat, it would actually select a ship for me and say, what do you want to do with this ship? And you could say, well, I want to move him over here, or I want to move him back, or I want to try to retreat by moving off the screen. You know, like, these are the decisions that you have to make, but in order to do it, like, you can only move the ship to here. Well, if you're trying to catch an enemy who's all the way on the other side of the board, now you're moving and moving and moving, and it's like, I just wish that there was more of a tactical sort of situation where, you know, like a little pop-up would come up and it would say, okay, you have 3 capital ships and 5 fighters versus his 2 capital ships and 3 fighters. Do you want to stay? Do you want to retreat? Do you want to use, you know, like special tactics? Do you, you know, like, I just wish that it was more tactical versus this, which is so minutia oriented, you know what I mean? And it does a very good job in explaining that space is humongous, but that's kind of the bad thing, okay? I want the enemy to be here and then engage in some way. I don't want to have to, you know, like scroll over here and move my ship and then go back and pick the next ship and then scroll over here. You know, like it's too much. It's too big. It's too... it's not really working for me. So I hope, personally, I hope that they change it. So anyway, those are my initial thoughts. Again, this game is in beta, so a lot of this could change in the future. But especially after this most recent patch, this game looks really sweet. So I just figured I'd do a little video and tell you all about it. And, you know, if you're interested, again, you can pick it up on Steam via the Early Access program. And you can play it yourself. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please click the like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you would like more content like this in the future. I'm Angelic Mayhem, and I'll see you next time.